Get my seat.
For the record, the state defense, Mr. Medina, all of our jurors are accounted for. Thank you. State, would you like to call your next? Sir, will you please come forward to be sworn?
Raise your hands up. Do you swear to testimony that's given the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You may have a seat.
Please take a seat, sir. Sir, please make sure all of your answers are out loud and verbal so that the jurors may hear you. When he is comfortable, Ms. Klein, you may begin.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and spell your last name, please, for the court?
Yes, my name is John Venturi. My last name is Ventire.
And Mr. Venturi, are you currently a law enforcement officer?
No.
Okay. Back in August 13, were you a law enforcement officer?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Okay. And could you tell us who you worked for back on August 8th, 2013?
I was working for the city of South Miami.
Okay. As a police officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long had you been with them?
10.5 years.
Any prior law enforcement or military before that?
Yes, I was a police officer at Florida International University for 10.5 years. And before that, I was in the Air Force for 4 years.
And you're currently retired?
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So let's go back to August 8th, 2013, when you were working in South Miami. Okay. In what capacity? Just uniform patrol?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you on duty on August 8th, 2013?
Yes, I was.
What shift did you work?
I was working a day shift, which is 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon.
And did there come a time when you responded to the South Miami Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was that in the morning?
Yes, ma'am. About mid-morning.
Thank you. I was just about to ask if you recall approximately what time.
I guess maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay. And when you responded, what happened when you walked in?
When I walked into the station, the defendant was sitting in one of the chairs there in the lobby. And the defendant spontaneously stated to me, "You can go ahead and search me. I have no weapons. You can go ahead and handcuff me."
Okay, I want to stop you for a minute.
Sure.
Because you just said the defendant. If someone became known to you later, it says in that lobby as Derek Medina,
Yes.
and do you see that person sitting in the courtroom today?
Yes, I just saw someone sitting right there with the, looks like a gray suit and a white shirt.
Record reflects and identified the defendant. Okay, so this is the defendant that you saw when you walked into the lobby.
Yes, ma'am.
And was he alone or with someone?
No, he was with his father also.
Okay. And now, I'm sorry, go ahead. So the first thing he said to you, you did not ask any questions upon immediately entering.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And please tell me again what he said.
If I could check my notes, I have my report here if it's okay.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Is this your report that you authored?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would your recollection be refreshed by checking your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to please check your report, and when your recollection is adequately refreshed, to just look up. So, tell us now. You said that he spontaneously. What did he say?
Defendant spontaneously stated, "I don't have any weapons on me. You can search me. Go ahead and cuff me."
Okay. And what was your response to that?
I then asked him the question, "May I help you?"
Did he respond?
Yes.
Okay. What was the response?
At that point, he responded, "I was involved with an argument with my wife, and she was hitting me,
Okay.
and she's been hitting me for a long time. So I shot her."
Okay. And did you ask any follow-up questions as to that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, actually, yes, I'm sorry. I asked where the incident occurred at. He stated that it occurred in his apartment, and that he also had a 10-year-old girl in the apartment.
Okay. At this point, is there anybody else from law enforcement in the lobby with you?
Maybe a minute later, another officer and the sergeant who was in charge of my shift at that time came into the station as well.
Okay. And the other officer you're referring to is?
Officer Robert Everett.
Okay. So after he told you that he shot him, and after he told you that his 10-year-old was there, did he tell you anything else?
Not that I can recall.
Did he indicate at all where he went after the shooting?
He did indicate to me that he went to his parents' house where he had explained to them what happened.
Okay.
And at that point, that's where he came into the station afterwards with his dog.
And so what did you do as a result of that conversation?
As a result of that conversation, I ordered the defendant placed so that I could conduct a pat-down search of him to see if he had any weapons or anything like that.
Okay. And he complied?
And he complied, yes.
Okay. And by the way, there was no trouble understanding each other in terms of the language or anything like that?
No.
Okay. And he complied with the pat-down?
Yes, he did.
And did you find any weapons?
No, he did not.
Okay. While you were patting him down, were you attempting to do anything else or call anyone else?
I instructed our dispatcher, Officer Massey, to get in touch with fire rescue to respond to his residence.
And you are doing that from one side of the glass while she is on the other
While
side?
she was on the other side, that's correct.
Okay, fine. And is that at the same time that you were patting down the defendant 5 breaths?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And so what happened when...
Yes, at that point, the defendant spontaneously stated, oh, she's dead. I know she's dead because I emptied my .380 in her 5
I'm
shots.
going to object. He's reading
Right.
on. He's reading on.
Sir, please do not read from that document, and you may refresh your recollection. As soon as your recollection is refreshed, please put the item back down, and Ms. Klein will ask her next question.
Move to strike, Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, please disregard the last statement and answer the witness. Ms. Klein, you may ask your next question when he is ready.
Has your recollection been refreshed as to what the defendant told you when you were requesting fire rescue?
Yes.
Okay. Can you please tell, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what the defendant told you when you were requesting fire rescue?
Yes, ma'am. At that point, the defendant spontaneously stated, she's dead. I know she's dead. I emptied my .380 in her 5 shots.
Did you respond to that in any way?
No, I did not.
Verbally?
Verbally, no.
Okay, fine. And so what happened at that point?
At that point, I went ahead and I handcuffed the defendant and I escorted him over to our cell area where he was placed in secured inside a cell.
Okay. And was it your obligation to watch him while he was in that cell until further law enforcement was going to take over?
Yes, I was ordered to stay there in observation.
Okay. Was there any further conversation between you and the defendant or the defendant and you during that time period? Just make a moment. Thank you, Mr. Venturi. I have no further questions.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. Venturi?
Venturi.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name. My name is Sam Zhang, and I'm an attorney for Derek Medina. I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Yes.
So, you're no longer working for the police department, correct?
No, I'm not.
What are you doing now?
I am unemployed.
And what was the basis of you no longer working for the South Miami Police Department?
Objection relevant.
Overruled.
Were you let go?
No.
Did you retire?
I resigned.
You resigned. And when did you resign?
I'm sorry?
When, sir? When did you resign?
January 30th was my last day.
Of 2015?
Yes.
And you've been unemployed since?
Yes.
What was the basis for your resignation?
I decided that 21 years working in law enforcement was long enough.
Were you eligible for your pension at that time?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to direct your attention to August 8, 2013. I'm going to ask you some questions with regards to your investigation as well as with regards to your testimony today, okay?
Yes.
When you entered the South Miami lobby, what were you doing?
I was walking into the station.
Were you on your cell phone?
No, I was not.
Who else was in the lobby with you?
The defendant and his father.
And he was sitting down in one of the chairs, correct?
That's correct.
And was Officer Everett, a few other members of South Miami's law enforcement division also in the room with you?
They came in a few minutes later.
This discussion that you had with Mr. Medina was face-to-face?
Yes.
So it wasn't like you were in one corner of the lobby and he was in the other and you were having that conversation, right?
That's correct. I was standing at the door, the entrance, and I was facing him. He was sitting in a chair looking at me.
Judge, 1 minute, please. When was the last time you reviewed the video? The actual video of what transpired?
I believe that was when I had a pre-trial conference with the state attorney.
When was that?
I believe it was a month, maybe a month and a half ago.
And so your recollection and your testimony today is that you initially came in and then a few minutes later other officers came in the room, correct?
That's correct.
And during this time when you were alone with Mr. Medina, this is when he made the spontaneous statements to you, or were other officers present?
Officer Everett, I believe, came in just a few seconds after I did. The sergeant on duty also came in at that time, and a few minutes later, then 2 other detectives walked into the room.
When he made the statement to you, as you said, the spontaneous statement, I have no weapons, you can search me, go ahead and cuff me, did you do that?
At that point, no, not right when he told me.
So he says that to you, but you don't search him and you don't cuff him.
That's correct.
And then you also had another statement where he said he got in an argument with his wife, correct?
Yes.
And how long between that first statement, that first spontaneous statement, till the second statement did Mr. Medina tell you he had gotten in an argument with his wife?
Maybe 30 seconds, maybe.
And this statement that came to you, was it a response to your question, or did he just say it to you?
The statement is...
With regards to the argument with the wife,
That statement came after I asked him, may I help you?
had you received any kind of communication from Ms. Massey, who was working the front desk of the South Miami Police Department that morning with regards to why my client was there?
I'm sorry, say that again?
No worries. Officer Massey, she's retired.
That's correct.
She was working communication. She was in the lobby that day, correct?
Yes.
You recognize her, you saw her in the lobby?
Yes, sir.
And she was working on that day as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Did she contact you and ask you to come to the lobby with regards to this situation?
She didn't contact me directly. She asked that 2 officers respond to the police station and that 2 other officers respond to the incident location, the location of where the incident occurred.
When she sent this response for you guys to come to the lobby, did she use any police terminology with regards to why Derek was there?
She was advised that a 3:30 occurred, which is a shooting.
And that's all the information that you were given?
As far as I can recall, yes, I think so.
Is there anything that would refresh your recollection? Anything that you have?
As far as my report goes now.
Just so I'm clear, so you didn't draft in your report the information that was passed on to you from the communication desk to you?
That's right.
So you asked Mr. Medina, how can I help you? Or may I help you? It was, may I help you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And he indicated to you he had an argument with his wife? And that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that she was hitting me for a long time, correct?
That she was hitting him and that she had been hitting him for a long time. Yes.
And that he shot her, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ask any follow-up questions with regards to the shooting?
I asked where the incident occurred.
And did he give you a truthful answer?
Yes, sir.
And did you ask him any other questions?
No.
Did you ask him if the decedent, Jennifer Alfonso, was armed?
No, I did not.
Did you ask if you knew, strike that, did you ask him any questions with regards to what caused him to shoot her?
I did not ask him any questions about that, no.
You then did attempt to call him, or you made a statement that you then were contacting fire rescue, yes?
I asked Officer Massey to call fire rescue, that's correct.
And then he made a statement with regards to that she had expired, correct?
Yes, sir.
In your report, you said that there were 5 shots, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you asked these questions and when you had this conversation with my client, were you in close proximity to him?
Yes, I was.
And you've seen the video, and the video shows the lobby of South Miami Police Department, yes?
That's correct.
And there are other officers in the vicinity while you're talking, correct?
Yes, sir.
Were they able to hear your conversation with him?
Yes.
What about Miss Massey? Could she hear?
I don't know because she was behind the glass.
Have you ever been behind the glass in the South Miami Police Department?
Yes, sir.
And when you're behind the glass and someone's speaking in the lobby, can you hear them?
Faintly, they would have to be up on the glass, speaking hard to really hear them clearly.
When my client made the statements, with all these statements, was he in the seated position or was he closer towards, when you look at the video, there's times where he's sitting down and then there's times where you're checking him for weapons. When did he make these statements? While he was in the seated position or when you had him against the wall?
He was in a seated position.
What did you do with, did you have any other communication or other interaction with Mr. Medina other than what happened in the lobby?
No, sir.
Did you drive him to a holding cell?
No, I did not.
Did you walk him to a holding cell?
Yes, I did.
And that holding cell is not in the camera, not in the preview of the camera, correct?
In the lobby? No, sir.
Not in the lobby camera. I apologize for not clarifying. In the lobby camera, correct?
That's correct.
But there are cameras in South Miami Police Department that would show you taking him from point A to point B and so on and so forth, correct?
There would be cameras in the hallway, yes.
Correct. When you put him in the holding station, did you have any conversations with him in the holding station?
Not that I recall, no.
Were you in close proximity to Mr. Medina while he was in the holding station?
I was approximately 6, maybe 7 feet away from him.
Kind of like what we are, a little bit closer maybe?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. And how long were you there while he was in the holding cell?
I was there with him approximately an hour and a half.
And it sounds like he was a chatty Cathy in the lobby. He didn't make any statements to you in the holding cell?
As far as I recall, no.
As far as you can recall.
That's correct.
So your testimony is that in the first 2 minutes of having communication with Derek Medina, he gave you 3 or 4 statements, correct?
Yes.
And after that, for an hour and a half while he's in the Miami, South Miami holding station, you have no interaction, no verbal interaction with him whatsoever.
No.
And that wasn't because he was refusing. He didn't ask for a lawyer or anything to that effect. It wasn't like you weren't allowed to talk to him, correct?
That's correct.
Who else was in the holding area with you?
Just me.
One second. Then. Your Honor, with the caveat, with the ability to recall this officer at this time, and including my cross-examination.
In your brief direct.
Yes, sir. Mr. Hunter, you recall being asked on cross-examination just now about the statements that the defendant gave you and the spontaneous statements and where he was at the time.
Yes.
You recall being asked those questions?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to clarify something in case I wasn't understanding. The statement that was made about emptying the clip and that she was already dead, okay? I believe you testified on direct proof correctly that that was made while you were requesting fire rescue. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was that made when he was sitting, or that was made when you were already standing and patting him down?
He was standing and I was patting him down.
Okay. And do you recall the questions on cross-examination about any conversations or lack thereof when the defendant was in the holding cell?
Yes.
For that hour and a half. Okay. Was it, you were in our homicide detective, is that right?
No.
Okay. And so was it your job to be asking him questions?
No.
Was it your job to be investigating a possible murder suspect?
No, it's not.
Okay. I'm not.
Thank you, sir. You are excused.
Thank you.
State, would you like to call your next witness?
Officer Moreno.
Please make sure that all of your answers are out loud enough that all the jurors can hear you. Mr. Dunn, when he is comfortable, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, can you please state your name for the record?
Officer Frank Moreno.
And by whom are you employed?
I'm a Miami-Dade police officer. I've been so for 23 years.
And Frank, your nickname?
I go by, correct name is Francisco.
Francisco.
I apologize.
If you don't like it. What is your current position within MDPD?
I'm a police officer assigned to uniform patrol.
How long have you been with the Miami-Dade Police Department?
23 years.
And how long have you been with the uniform patrol position?
22 years.
And just give the jury a brief synopsis of what the general duties are of a uniform patrol officer within the Miami-Dade Police Department, sir.
In uniform patrol, you're assigned an area to patrol, and you're to handle calls. When there are any calls that are dispatched in that area, you are dispatched to them, and on downtime, your job is to take proactive enforcement action.
Now, were you working back on August 8th of 2013?
Yes.
And what area were you working at that time?
That particular day, I was assigned to Kendall District Area 1.
Could you
Can you
describe the geographical parameters of that area?
Area 1 goes from Burton Road down to 104th Street, from approximately 57th Avenue to 97th Avenue, with the exception of any municipalities that lie within that area.
Now, staying on that date, Officer Moreno, August 8th, 2013, can you please tell us how you became involved in this homicide investigation?
South Miami had dispatched its units to a call regarding...
Sustained.
Were you dispatched to a location?
I heard the call go out, and I advised the dispatcher that I would be responding because it was close to our border.
And can you tell us the address that you were dispatched to or that you responded to?
5555 Southwest 67th Avenue, apartment 105.
And what time were you dispatched to that address?
I need to see a copy of the police report.
You have that with you?
I have that with me.
Okay. Would that help you refresh your recollection?
That would help me refresh my recollection.
Okay, please pull that out. And please look up when you're done.
11:41, I was dispatched. I arrived approximately 11:52.
And is that address located in Miami-Dade County, Florida?
Yes,
And what municipality is that address located in?
South Miami.
Does the city of South Miami have its own police department?
Yes.
So why were you, as a Miami-Dade officer, on that day responding to an address and to a call within the jurisdiction of the city of South Miami Police Department?
The address is located on right on the border, 67, on that particular cross street. 67th Avenue east side belongs to South Miami. The west side belongs to unincorporated Dade County. So it was literally right on the border and the severity of the call.
Were you in close proximity to the location?
Yes.
Were you the first police officer to arrive on the scene that morning?
Yes.
And what happened when you arrived at the address, sir?
I went to the front door and I started banging on the door.
Was the door locked?
The door was locked.
Did any other police officers begin to arrive after you?
Detective Hernandez arrived right after me.
And from what other departments did these other officers arrive from?
Miami-Dade Police and South Miami Police were the two departments that responded to the call.
Now, at some point, once more officers began to show up, was a perimeter established around the residence?
Yes.
And what does that mean, to establish a perimeter?
The perimeter is established to have every point, every window and door covered, because at this time we still don't have all the facts, and we don't know if there's other additional suspects, and we want to make sure that nobody runs out of the back door and the officer in the front doesn't see him.
Now, once enough officers had arrived, was the decision made to force entry into the residence?
Yes.
And what was used to breach the door?
A pickaxe and a sledgehammer provided by Miami-Dade Fire Rescue.
So at some point thereafter, fire rescue had arrived?
Yes.
And once the door was breached, first, did you do that yourself?
With the help of Officer Hernandez.
All right. And were you the first officer through the door once the door was breached?
Yes.
And did other officers follow right behind you?
Yes.
And did you enter with guns drawn?
Yes.
Can you tell us what room you observed upon first making entry into the residence, sir?
There was a room to my right that appeared to be like a living room.
And what was the next room or area you observed?
There was a kitchen right after the living room. There's a kitchen to my right.
Okay. And did you observe anything inside of the kitchen?
There was a deceased female lying on the kitchen floor.
What position was she in when you observed her?
She had her knees bent back. She had fallen back, and her head was resting against the kitchen cabinet, and she had apparent gunshot wounds.
Was the female moving?
No,
Was she showing any signs of life when you observed her?
no.
Did you observe any weapons around her?
There was a firearm on the kitchen floor.
Other than the female, did you observe anyone else on the first floor of the residence?
No.
After clearing that first floor of the residence, did you and your fellow officers then proceed upstairs to the second floor?
Yes.
And at that point, did you make contact with someone who later became known to you as Isabel Vieira?
Yes.
Where did you locate Isabel?
She was located in a bedroom, a landing. The door was closed, but unlocked. I opened the door, and she was sitting on the bed with a red blanket.
And for the record, was Isabel the child?
Yes.
And what was she doing sitting on the bed with a blanket?
She was watching TV. The TV was turned up all the way.
And that room she was in, was it locked?
No.
And what, if anything, did you say to Isabel upon encountering her, sir?
I asked her who was there with her.
Did you tell her anything else?
I told her that we needed to leave the residence.
And did she comply?
Yes.
Other than Isabel, did you locate anyone else upstairs?
No.
So she was alone.
Yes.
What did you proceed to do with Isabel after you told her we have to leave?
I told her to bring her blanket. She had a red blanket. I told her to bring it with her. And so she brought the blanket, and I walked her halfway down the stairs, and I stopped.
Now, in order to exit the apartment out the door you came, was it necessary for you to walk past the kitchen where you observed the deceased female?
Yes.
And what, if any, precautions did you take in terms of preventing Isabel from viewing the kitchen area?
I wrapped her in the blanket. This is why I wanted her to bring the blanket, because that this is the situation that I was going to be presented with. So I wrapped her with the blanket completely, and I brought her down the rest of the stairway, and there was personnel standing at the entrance to the threshold of the kitchen, and then I had my back to the body, and I walked the little girl past the kitchen while making sure that even if her field of vision was able to break through the blanket, my body would prevent her from seeing what was behind me. And then there was other people behind me to do the same. I walked her out of the residence, and I gave her to a female officer from South Miami.
So were you able to prevent her, to your knowledge, as far as you know, from seeing her mother's body?
Yes.
And what you said, once she got outside the apartment, you did what with her?
I turned custody of her over to a South Miami officer, a female officer.
Now, at the time all of this was going on, when you were first entering the residence and breached it, had you noticed the cameras around?
No.
Did you later learn that your actions that day had indeed been caught on video?
Yes.
And have you seen that surveillance video?
Yes.
For the record, Your Honor, I'm showing this part to look at Marcus States 1A.
Without objection.
Your Honor, States 1A.
And will still be moved.
Exhibit number 2.
Commissioner Publisher. An officer, what has now been admitted into evidence is exhibit. Does this video fairly and accurately depict the actions of yourself and your fellow officers from that moment?
Yes.
can I have the witness step down?
You may.
Just stand on that side if you could.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you need to reposition yourself, please come to seat.
So, officer, for the record, we're going to begin with the folder labeled front door exterior. Okay?
I'm going to stand over here so the jurors can see it.
Okay, that's fine.
Could you angle it, sir? Push it back to the Medina. Thank you.
For the record, is that yourself there?
That's me.
I'm pausing it at the timestamp 8:26:56. And does that show your first arrival at the scene?
Yes.
Continue. Do you know who that was who just ran by there?
That was an officer, I think, from Miami-Dade Police. I believe that's Officer Daniels.
Okay, for the record, I paused it at timestamp 8:27:34. And we'll continue. And what was Officer Daniels doing running around back there?
He was going to help establish a perimeter around the structure. The structure has several apartments, so we wanted to go all the way to the end.
Is this another police officer in the background there?
Yes. See if maybe somebody got interrupted from the inside.
Seconds.
I'm positioning the pickaxe into the crack of the door, and Officer Hernandez will start hitting the pickaxe with his sledgehammer.
At this point, the door appears to be open, correct?
Yes.
Was it at this point that you made entry with guns drawn?
Yes.
All right. Is that fire rescue there?
Yes.
I want to stop and go to our interior angle if we could now. Is this the same door from the inside, officer?
The same door from the inside?
Let me just show you guys entering initially.
Yes.
At this point, I want to go to the next camera angle. on the video this kitchen hallway. I'm going to just pause it right there at the beginning, timestamp 8:30 and 45 seconds. Can you please describe to the jury what they're looking at in terms of the image on this video, officer?
This is the entrance to the kitchen.
Right here in the bottom right corner.
We continue going this way.
Okay, and as you continue going past the kitchen here, which way is the stair?
To the left. Stair to the left.
Now, officer, I'm going to pause this again once more at the 8:32 and 39 timestamp on the video. Can you explain what the two gentlemen are doing here in the doorway at that point?
They're blocking the path. They're blocking the eyesight to the kitchen.
For what purpose?
Because I'm about to bring Isabel.
And I'm going to pause it again, sir. Timestamp 8:33 and 00 seconds. Can you please describe what we're seeing here?
I'm standing with my back to where the body is. That's Isabel wrapped in the red blanket that I had mentioned earlier. And I'm going to walk sideways to get her past the kitchen.
Continue that. At that point, sir, you can go back to the previous camera angle. And again, looking at the camera angle of the interior front door, is this the same view you taken Isabel out?
Yes.
And once you got her out that door, did you immediately hand her over to the South Miami officer?
Yes.
Female officer. And it appears you and the other officers are clearing out of the scene at that point, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You can have a seat again.
Thank you.
No further questions, sir.
Cross-examination?
Yes, Joe. Detective Moreno, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Sam Zangane, and I'm going to ask you some questions with regard to your investigation, if that's okay, sir. I'm also going to ask you some questions with regards to your direct examination, okay, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so when you entered the residence, and you went upstairs to retrieve the child, did she appear to have any kind of injuries?
No.
Did she have any kind of physical trauma or anything that would substantiate that she was in danger in any kind of physical way?
She was not injured.
So there was no indication of any kind of physical injury or anything that would affect her physical health, correct?
I didn't see anything that would affect her physical health.
As you indicated, when you walked into her room, while it was closed, the door was unlocked, correct?
Yes.
Did you have any conversation with this young lady?
Yes.
Did you learn as to why she was staying in her room?
Yes.
And why was that?
Stepfather told her to stay in the room and not to leave the room for any reason.
Relationship is with this minor?
He was the stepfather.
Okay. So when she described my stepfather told me to stay in my room and not to leave, that's my client telling me, correct?
Yes.
As far as you know, she complied, correct?
As far as I know.
She had no idea or inclination what had occurred downstairs, correct?
I don't know.
Did she appear to know that something had transpired downstairs?
I don't know.
Let me ask you the question very simply. When you walked into the room, did she appear to be under duress when you walked in?
No.
Pardon me, technology today, I wrote notes on my phone. So, she didn't appear to be in any kind of mental distress, correct?
No.
If she was in any kind of mental distress, you would have written that down in some sort of note, correct?
Yes.
And just to clarify, no such note was written, correct?
That's correct.
So just to summarize, her health, her physical health, and her mental health both seem to be intact, correct?
Yes.
The steps that you took to transport the minor child was for her safety and for her to keep her mental acuity intact, correct?
Yes.
The front door of the residence, and I'm referring to 555, it's Southwest 67th Avenue, am I correct?
Yes.
It was locked, correct, when you got there?
Yes.
And it was locked from the inside, correct?
Well, I'm assuming that you could lock it from the outside too.
Were you aware if the door was locked on the outside, if somebody was inside and they wished to leave the apartment, would they be able to do so?
I don't know.
How long do you, I looked at the video, we've all seen the video. Would you agree with me that it took you between 5 and 10 seconds with the use of the pickaxe and the hammer, the sledgehammer, to manipulate the door to open, correct?
Yes.
And upon entering, you said that the first room was like a living room.
I believe so.
Do you recall any other details in regards to the living room, what was in there, anything to that effect?
I think there was a sofa.
Was there anything on that sofa that drew your attention?
No.
Was there anything else in that living room area that drew your attention?
No.
You'll agree with me is once you open the door, the living room is right there, correct?
Yes.
And a few feet in front of it, there's a small hallway which has the, it's like a U-shaped little kitchen, like a galley kitchen, correct?
Yes.
And that's where you saw the decedent in this case, correct?
Yes.
How deep would you say the kitchen was from entering from the hallway till where the doors were, the room for someone to be able to walk? Roughly how long?
Maybe 8 feet.
About the distance that we're at right now, give or take?
About our distance, yes.
And you'll agree with me that it was not an extra large kitchen, it was kind of narrow?
It was a narrow kitchen. It was an average-sized kitchen in those townhouses.
And those style houses, when you talk about those average kitchens, they're not wide and large, correct?
That's correct.
And this one specifically also was about 8 feet deep and a few feet wide, correct?
Yes.
The next room after that was, how would you describe that? Like a dining area?
Yes.
Was there anything in that room that drew your attention?
No.
Let's talk about the kitchen. You said that there was a firearm there, correct?
Yes.
Was the firearm loaded to your knowledge?
I don't know.
Did you handle the firearm in any way?
No.
How many people entered that kitchen during the initial sweep?
As far as I know, only the firefighters went in to make sure that the victim had no signs of life.
So would it be fair for me to say that this would require them to touch the victim and to be in close proximity to where she is?
I don't know what protocol fire rescue uses.
But respectfully, detective, you just told me they went to check for signs of life. Signs of life.
I would assume they would have to, but I was not observing what they were doing.
When you went upstairs, how many bedrooms were upstairs? Do you recall?
At least 2, maybe 3, but I know 2 for sure.
2 for sure. And one would include the room where the minor child was, correct?
Yes.
And the other one would be the marital room, the marital bedroom?
Yes.
Did you go into the marital bedroom?
No.
Did you observe the marital bedroom?
No.
Okay. Was the door to the marital bedroom open or closed? If you recall.
I believe it was open, and I could see into the room, and I went to the left. As soon as I got up to the landing, I made a U-turn on the landing, and went straight to the room that was closed.
Okay. And that's where Isabel was, correct?
Yes.
Were you able to see what the marital bedroom looked like?
I could see it, but I don't recall what was in there. I didn't.
Okay, that's fair. There were security cameras upstairs as well, correct?
I don't know.
Did you notice security cameras in the house when you were doing your due diligence?
No.
Was your only role in this investigation to breach the door and to remove the child?
Did that, and I remained on the scene and wrote the report.
Thank you for your time.
Free time. So you are excused.
Thank you, Ma'am.
State, would you like to call your next witness?
We just need a recess to address the matters.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us take a 10-minute recess. Please remember my orders. As always, please leave your pads closed on your chairs, and we will see you in 10 minutes. If it is 3:30 on the clock, we will see you in 3:40.
The evidence and previously made some motions reference photographs. And you said, well, you're looking at the time, so now's the time.
Now's the
We
time.
have a great deal of money here marked for identification, so if the defense wants to approve them.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we take 5 minutes of this recess to allow the defense to see what the state has had marked, and then I will take argument in 5 minutes.
Can we go into the jury room with me and my team?
Are you comfortable with that?